Of course, if you're just joining us, this is the newspaper review. As always, we welcome your tweets and your views on the news. Tweet us at K24 TV. You can also SMS us. The number is 21222 as we discuss the big stories of the day as you get up this morning. We have a couple of tweets coming in right here, and I look at them. Alex Chicks Wanjohi. The bullfighter looks very smart today. So, contrary to what you said about
that must be my daughter.
Wanjohi. Is your daughter?
Wanjohi. Oh, it was Wanjohi.
Yes, for once in my life, I agree with Jakoyo Midiwo, and the government has lost track. It has been focusing on issues that the private sector would be doing very well.
Who's that?
Ed Kiras, at Ed Kiras 5, that's his Twitter handle. Felix Yogo, I love the newspaper review this morning, and he goes ahead to say, pretty quote-unquote personal for Jakoyo, tell him to chill.
Been told to chill.
Yes, you're told to chill on this
I am chilled. That is his business competitor.
Okay, let's still stick to matters handshake, but focus on what has been quite the focus right now, the Kibra by-election.
Yes.
And it wasn't even Kibra itself, but the candidates.
Yes.
That's what the story has been so far.
Yes.
Finally, as the headlines are putting it right now, Uhuru support for Mariga complicates handshake politics.
Why would it... You see, that's a politician's... Those are politicians once again. Why would it complicate anything? Who is the
whole spirit of the handshake?
No, who is the leader, the party leader of Jubilee? Is it not the president?
Yes, it is.
So what has he done that's out of the line? And by the way, even when they went to the handshake, I don't remember anywhere where it was written that there will not be competition.
But Gabriel, in that same token, we really don't know, other than the 9 points that were put out there, whatever was discussed behind closed doors, nobody really knows.
You see,
up until today.
You see, if you're telling me the agreement is you cannot run in various places, then that's not the spirit of the handshake.
Right.
The spirit of the handshake, what it brought was a calm, was the fact that we are able to traverse, we're able to do business. You've seen development coming in areas where, you know, people perceive development cannot come. You've seen the president himself being able to visit places like Nyanza, where, you know, it's quite hostile, you know, before the elections, and so have you. So yes, as much as we agree that the handshake brought the kind of environment where, which is conducive, if you will, we must also continue fighting for, you know, that which drives the republic,
right,
you know, to be honored. Like, competition when it comes to politics. You know, Cynthia there has just talked about who speaks for the Mwananchi. It cannot be just because there's a handshake, nobody's, you know, is straightening the government or calling them out when there are accountability issues. No. So this issue of people trying to play, oh, now the president has joined the race. No. He is the party leader. In fact, he is doing his duty.
Dr. Khalwale, I'll bring you in on this because one thing we have seen is anytime Mariga was in the press, you are very somewhere close by. A real teammate when it comes to this by-election. Someone who you should have in your corner. They should take your number. When you take a course, you take it fully. And some people are saying this Kibra by-election might be the first time you'll see Raila Odinga fronting Imran Okoth and campaigning for him, and the president campaigning for Mariga. Yes, they're both party leaders, but you haven't seen that since the handshake. Is the handshake still intact? Will this bring a rift? And you know, what does it portend for the handshake as far as you're concerned?
I scrolled my Twitter.
Yes.
And there's one little girl, a very good supporter of Raila, who is very pissed off with me.
Why is that?
She was telling me, Jakoyo, that I've become Mutua Mkono of Mariga. But be that as it may, I think on behalf of many who support Mariga, I want to thank the president for coming out clearly that Mariga was the candidate not of a section of Jubilee, but of the Jubilee party that he leads. When somebody then opines that this is going to complicate handshake, what were they expecting? Was handshake supposed to kill Jubilee? Or vice versa? The spirit and the basic feature of democracy is the opportunity to participate in an election, either as a voter or a candidate.
But you have to understand where they're coming from as well.
If the president was going into the handshake so as to defy the basic feature of democracy, then he has ceased being the president who swore to uphold the Constitution of Kenya that provides in Article 83 all that you have seen being contested in the courts.
But the reason I'm saying this is also, it's not coming out of nowhere.
Yes.
We had seen various by-elections where they would sit down and decide, you know what, you go for this one, we shall not field a candidate. We had Nairobi Senator at K24 saying that he shall talk to the party leadership. So and it was something that could have happened.
And you know, surprisingly, and my mind might be serving me well, surprisingly, you're talking about 3 incidences. It is in Wajir West. You clearly saw the president with the candidate of Jubilee. Why didn't people complain at that time? And in the case of Embakasi South, the president of Kenya never opened his mouth on whether Jubilee was failing or not. The deputy president never opened his mouth. So whatever prompted them not to keep quiet should be the one that is being interrogated. So now, and same to Ugenya. Now, when it comes to Kibra, because they have said, oh, wait, handshake was not meant to kill Jubilee. Let the children of Kenya compete. Why should it be a big deal?
Honorable Midiwo, I'll bring you into this as well. Some people saying that now that McDonald Mariga's candidature has a clean bill of health, so to speak, now the president decided, okay, fine, the dust has settled. Let me bring the man in and show the, the country that I support him. Now that it seems like his candidature is out of the woods.
You know, I think we are talking about nothing. I think we are contributing about nothing. I thought the argument, first of all, the people who are talking, I hope they are saying because Kibra and Langata, the larger Langata, was a domain of ODM for many years, that it would have been decent for Jubilee name the president to leave it, for example, to a Raila person, which would just be a gentleman's agreement. It's nothing, made out of political expectations. Really, not in the 21st century. But they would have gone and talked. If the way it looks, they haven't talked. So it's a non-issue. And what is wrong with the president supporting his own candidate?
Right.
There's really nothing wrong about it. What I think is indecent, and Boni can't run away from this. Boni was in NASA. I was just looking at the things he was saying when he was in NASA.
Right.
And the things he was saying about the deputy president, and if he leaves Kenyatta, it goes to Moi. Moi leaves Moi, it goes to Kibaki. Kibaki, it goes to Kenyatta. Now it wants to go to Ruto, the 2 tribes. Now he's beginning to talk like a Kenyan. That Mariga has a right, everybody has a right. Boni, we are loving you. I love your news fell 50%. Because that is the way 50%. What I think is really indecent is these people adding misery to Kenyans over the decades. Because NASA, Wetangula has a candidate, Kalonzo has a candidate, Musalia has a candidate, Raila has a candidate. Only 24 months after they were eating together, campaigning together, what has changed? What are you treating Kenyans to? You go to Embakasi, everybody has a candidate. You people are indecent. really indecent. I mean, you form alliances for such a short time. Now you are in Kibra abusing each other. The other day I saw him abusing Wetangula and Musalia in Kibra. So, and he's calling them tribalists. And he's going there. He's on the side, their troops are saying, doing tribal calculations. We must fix this country.
Dr. Khalwale, the decisions have been made. They are all in there for political spoils. Is that what's happening right now? From a fierce critic to the other side.
This anger by Jakoyo directed at the former co-principals of NASA are really amusing. Because when Raila is dishonest, there's nothing wrong with it. Because when his co-principals complain, they are called cowards. What do I mean? When out of the blues, he comes out and says, we are not going to participate in the repeat presidential election. without consultation of the core principles, there's nothing wrong with that degree of dishonesty. When he goes and jumps to go and do an illegal swearing in without putting into consideration the positions of the core principle, there's nothing wrong. But now, when they do a smaller thing,
I was not with you people. Yeah. I was independent. I was not with you people.
I'm speaking to the kind of people who think the way you're doing. Oh. But now, when they do a smaller thing, like putting up a candidate against the ODM, it is now sacrilegious. So, I don't know who taught you that it is only democracy when people are doing things the Raila way. But when you do it the other way, then you are an undemocratic, you are a bootlicker, you are a sugoi goer. But don't you go to sugoi? I do go. In fact, you go to Bondo, Raila's Opoda farm, more often than I go to Sugoi. And nobody has ever complained. I enjoy it.
Do you know, when all this political flair dies down, we'll still be left asking, what must Kibra have? To me, Kibra must have somebody who will continue in the footprints of the late Ken Okoth. He set the bar too high, so we must get a candidate who, at the very least, is quite sensational with what is happening on the ground. Ken believed in education. Ken believed in bettering Kibra. So that, I think, is the right candidate that we should all be following too. So whether that candidate is found in somebody from ANC or NASA or Jubilee or whatever, what Kibra must get is somebody who will continue the legacy of the late Ken Okoth. Having said that, this issue of feeling that you predispose a certain area as this party or as coming from, I think should end. You know, we should take cues from the likes of Mpuri, who was elected in ODM in Central. We should take cue from somebody called Cyrus Omondi. You remember the MCA from Kahawa and Dadi in Kiambu County, somebody who comes from Siaya. He was actually nominated. And in the grassroots, people were not even shocked because they believed in him. All right? The issue was not which party you're coming with or the kind of tribe or you know, the where you subscribe to in matters tribe. It is believing in somebody.
That's right.
And you know, this issue of, it should be hands off what a particular party does not mean your party will win. You saw what happened in Embakasi South. Even when Jubilee had washed their hands, it did not go to ODM. Richard Sumra was wiped by, wiped by wiper, as they say. Same thing that happened in Uganda. You know, people believed in David Ochieng. Whether he came with a party called Kato Class or whatever it is, they believed in him. So this is about the belief system. Who is going to make your environment better? So the message to me, for the people of Kibra, and to ODM in particular, they should have a message for the people of Kibra. You cannot do the same way you did with Ugenya, and you cannot do the same way you did with Embakasi South, where you just put a banner of hitting on the deputy president. It will not work for you this time around. All right? Because people have started to understand you need to bring a message. So if also to advise ODM, also don't fall to that trap. Imra may actually be a very great candidate. So don't mess up his chances. All right? And the issue cannot be that every time it's the deputy president. No. At the end of the day, the man is still the deputy president of this country. He won't lose his seat. So actually get somebody or get a message, the right message,
about the issues in the area
with the people of Kibra. Failure to which you're going to see the same results that you saw in Embakasi South.
And if Sifuna wants to blame Fort Kenya and ANC for a possible loss, he should be reminded that in Ugenya, ANC and Fort Kenya never put up candidates.
Right.
But they still lost. The message to learn from that is that Kenyans have moved on. They are following parties that have good candidates.
Correct.
So if a party has a good candidate, it has better chances of winning. In Embakasi South, Wiper appeared to have the better candidate.
Right.
The reason why Mariga is being bashed all around is because he's a better candidate for that kind of constituency. Why? Because that is a constituency that has no tribe. And here is a boy born here in the slums. He has never gone to where he was born. He's grown here playing football and what have you. So he's a prototype of the kind of candidate you would present in that kind of constituency.
We'll also take it with a pinch of salt, Daktari, because we have seen you by his side every step of the way. So we do know when it comes to Mariga, that you're the man in his corner. Squarely in his corner.
No, but you see, to be fair to me, all the obstacles, and roadblocks that have been erected in his path have not been cleared by me.
Right.
They have been cleared by constitutional institutions, including yesterday. Kenyans might not be knowing. Kinyanjui went to court to block him, board. But it has been thrown out.
Right.
So it is in fact, the beauty of the Mariga case is not so much what's going on, but that we are testing the Constitution and the electoral laws. They are being tested, and it is starting to become clear that if applied, they can actually protect the integrity of the process, they can protect the voter and the candidate.
Okay, fantastic stuff. And of course, November 7th will be D-Day. And at the end of the day, we'll talk here in a postulate, but it's the people of Kibra who will decide that, and we'll be following that very keenly. Our last story, of course, before we take parting shots, interest rate cap retained by the Parliament Finance Committee. And again, Treasury was saying that they want to remove this because at first it was, in principle, it was a good idea. Let's cap the rate so at least most people in business can get more money and not pay exorbitant rate when it comes to what they're paying back in terms of loans. On the ground, however, no money is coming forth since the interest rate cap was put in place. We've seen the Kenya Bankers Association survey talking about that's why there's been an uptick in mobile loans. Because at least there it's easier for you to get your money, buy what you need to do and repay, even if the rates are through the roof. So we're seeing alternative financing coming in.
And you know why? Have you ever asked yourself, that question? I know many people will talk, about that, the section, is it 88, section 88 something of that financial act. You see, we came from a bank-driven economy, if you will, to now a market-driven economy, where at one point banks were the ones calling the shots. How many people would have afforded mortgages back then? It depended on how you talked to a certain manager because, it would skyrocket depending. I mean, as a matter of fact, your credit history never meant anything. Right. It's how well you are known. If Senior was a bank manager, I'll just take him out for coffee. He knows where I live and we talk and I have 100 million, whether, the security that I have, measures. And that's why you see a lot of bad loans. But then again came this cap. And what I'd have expected was the market to continue opening freely for people to access more loans, not to be taken in by these two side, I call them Shylocks, those side mobile,
loan applications.
Because the issue you will see, it's not that they do not follow a clear stipulated guideline run by a central bank, it is because they are easier to access. So question is, were the banks, even though the interest rates were capped, was there money? Because most banks actually, with the cap of the interest rate, what they wanted to do and what they have done for the longest is to work with government. Right. The government has become the best customer. Right. So when the government becomes the best customer, what happens to you? When you look for a loan, the bank will just look at you, just because they know the interest rate is capped and they look at you as a high risk, they're like, but if we know you, you're not the right kind at this point. So yes, and I can see where many regulators are coming from. If we open it up, then we can have more funds to give. But I still think that's more of a game than anything else. Right.
You feel the cap should stay in place?
Just make the process a little bit competitive. Make the process of acquiring that loan a little bit relaxed. Right. So what we have now is, yes, there's that interest issue, but then getting that facility has actually become, you really climb huge. It's a huge mountain to climb. Oh, yes.
Dr. Khalwale, the bankers are saying that, okay, fine, we had an issue, we will do better this time around. Just lift the interest cap rate so that you can actually serve more customers.
To what?
In fact, I'm running the risk of being slapped by Jakoyo. Because I know how passionate he is about this. Right. If you ask me, people don't go to borrow because of fun. They go to borrow because they want money quickly to sort out a problem and be allowed to repay.
Correct.
So now, here you bring the capping of the loans, which I don't support. And then, yes, it is looking nice. But when you go, the bank starts looking at you as a risky person,
Exactly.
and they don't give you the money.
Right.
So the capping is not serving
The purpose.
the purpose. So what doors are open? People end up with Shylocks, mobile money lenders, and so on, where they lose even more money. Okay? If you go to the bank today, my wife is a bank manager, she tells me the people picking money are the big ones.
Of course.
Yeah. But the small guys, the small and medium enterprises, things are collapsing. Again, remembering Kibaki. In the 10-year period of Kibaki, loans were being hawked. You could see outside the bank, people were hawking loans and whatnot, and Kenyans were taking and repaying. Remove this capping, let this field be left. I told you he will slap me.
Honorable Midiwo, as a business
I am not stand my shit.
I have not you know, this issue of interest capping
yes.
started by my predecessor, Joe Donde. I moved with it for 15 years until we finally succeeded. In fact, what is in Jude Jomo's act was basically from me. But when Jude did it, it was at a different time. And we were lucky to pass it. And how? Now, I understand Boni now. Boni, I will not slap you. You know, people have been saying you get your money from Sugoi. Kumbe, the wife is a bank manager. I know. These people have been spoiling your name. You have money. No, you can access money. You know, don't worry. They have been spoiling your name that you get from Sugoi. I will not let that. But on the issue. You know, it's true, during Kibaki, the banks were hawking money.
Right.
But that was before we went to China. The moment we went to China, the government saw no need to borrow too much from the banks because money is coming from China. The banks are rogue. Take any foreign bank in this country. They, in their home countries, they don't report any profit. But here they report billions. Because the bank is slowing, I mean the government is slowing from borrowing from banks, they now want to come to us. What is the answer? The answer is government policy. Number one, stop borrowing from banks completely.
Yes.
Stop. The issue, the banks are not developing products which are attractive to you and me, is because they are giving money to government. The banks in this country are holding our government hostage because the government is not regulating them.
Right.
Number two, you know, when you keep saying that the banks were that this mobile thing, the late John Njoroge Muchuki nearly did it. He nearly stopped the mobile companies from doing banking business. If Safaricom wants to become a bank, let him apply for a banking license.
Right.
Stop giving people money. In fact, it should be that the people should borrow a lot of money from them and refuse to pay, so that they do telephony. This is a communications firm, but they are making more money lending money to the unsuspecting Kenyans and overcharging them because the banks have refused to develop products that can help Kenyans. Let me tell you, Jeff, the law says now the interest oscillates between, I think, between 10 and 13%.
Yeah.
Which business do you do on earth that you make 10% profit? Which business? You just tell me if you're not a thief. Which business? The banks in this country are rogue. They want free money. They hate you. They look at you. They don't care if you go to your grave. And I want to thank the Finance Committee of Parliament for understanding. You know, I was seeing this morning on CNN, the Fed in the US reduced the interest rate. Yes. The cap is at 0.5%, but they have gone lower.
Correct.
On demand of Trump. Trump still abused them. So they could keep reducing. Stop killing business. 0.5%. But these people are saying they do not, 10% is too little for them. Do you know, by the time Jude bill passed, we were paying 29%.
Yeah.
How do you pay? I mean,
so clearly a big regulation issue right there.
It's an issue that a non-performing, the policy is not proper,
yes.
And these people are dealt with this thing for 15 years. And anytime, and Boni will bear me witness, when time that thing is about to come to Parliament, the banks, their people, they are all over. And let me tell you, one time, I put this thing in the finance bill as an amendment. And the budget could not pass, I mean, the finance bill could not pass for a very long time. I traveled. Just about 2 days, the thing was brought and passed without my amendment because I was not there to move them. In fact, people accused me for having been compromised to travel. But what saved me, I revealed when somebody came to my office and offered me 30 million shillings to drop the amendment. This is a very serious thing. How do you grow an economy?
And you see, not only that, it even bring the issue of housing. Like now, you know what Senior has just said. If at your average age, where now you're getting, when you're at your average age when you're now getting a loan, and this has been said between 35 and 48, that's where many people are getting mortgages. Do you know if you are to go with the interest rates back then of 20-something, to get a loan of 30 million because you want to provide a very good abode for your family, and 30 million in Nairobi really will not give you the best of, that means you will retire without paying that money, without finishing to pay that loan. And that's why you see something like housing coming in. It now offers you a place where you say, I can actually afford a good environment where the caps are actually quite down. Okay,
and your parting shot, Daktari, at least no slaps happened on set. I think that's a good place to start.
I just want to appeal to my brother Jakoyo. Yes. Let us support the agenda of housing.
Yes. Yes.
Housing is so big that the jobs that will come out of the construction of those houses, a lot of our boys who are on the streets, coming out of divets, because divets are now very brisk in the country now, they will get instant jobs. That's the way to go. We want this policy to go on for 10, 15 years. It will sort out our unemployment problem.
Fantastic stuff. And that's how we leave it as far as it's concerned. Thank you so much for making time this morning, Gabriel Muthuma, politics and governance expert. Dr. Boni Khalwale, the bullfighter, thank you so much. And as always, he had said he had gone into political retirement, but this is the second in a week.
You cut him short. You want to do this.
Just give me 1 minute. No, tell your director. Because you can't go with the impression, 10 seconds, or they'll catch you. The impression that I am not supporting. I'm supporting. But let us do it with private people. This is not Cuba.
Okay, we leave it at that. Thank you so much, Honorable Midiwo. We shall revisit that discussion, of course, because they can go on and on. We take a break. Come back with interaction.
I had to leave it out.